Welcome back to the JLL Coaching Pod, episode 20, believe it or not. That is a bit mad. I've done 20 of these and I'm still kicking around. This was the one where I was like, I might not do it. It might not be possible. I didn't do it on the day I normally do it. Now it's Sunday. I'm actually going to post this in 2 days. We're behind schedule a little bit. But we're here. We made it. And we're going to talk about my model, my training model, the principles that I try and live by with regards to my performance model, how I make decisions, and how I try and get good outcomes for my clients and my peeps. And this has been a bit of a long journey because figuring out what a few foundational or fundamental principles that I base all of my decisions off, like dialing it down to just a few clear, simple things, was very hard. So the three I've come up with, they're all a pursuit. So pursue truth is number one. Pursue quality is number two. And pursue balance is number three. Number three. And within these three principles, or within these three phrases, I break down what it is I do, my thought process behind things, why I think what I think, and where I gather information and understanding to improve that decision-making process for outcomes with people. So, pursue truth. What's this all about? I think maybe the last 6 years, maybe forever, but really the last 6 years, pursuing truth has been like a big, huge part of my identity. Like wanting to find out answers, an insatiable curiosity for the world and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Pursuing truth has just been, it's been huge for me. Reading, podcasts. I would say I'm obsessed with learning. When I get free time, that tends to be where my energy and time goes. Pursuing truth. I absolutely am obsessed with this. I have been for a little period of time. And for me, what is truth? And why do I say pursue truth? Because I think truth, we're never really going to know everything. Currently, that's what I think. We're never really going to know everything. And we only have a limited understanding of what we do know anyway. Now, my favorite example of this is in physics. Now, we got to the moon with Newtonian physics, a model of physics that has been proved wrong or limited by Einstein. But we still got useful outcomes. We still made it to the moon. We still had these huge breakthroughs in technology, down to physics. So it doesn't matter that it's not true. And everything that we have currently in our knowledge and understanding is not 100% true. However, it's useful. So this is why I say pursue truth. And that's because we're never really going to get to that truth, but it's a pursuit of more information, getting closer to the answers. And that's what it's all about. Making decisions based off principles that are more true than less true. And these are universal principles. So for me, a principle is something that is universally true with our current understanding of things. So for example, a principle could be expansion and compression. And that you see things expand and compress throughout the entire universe. Now that could be looking at things like, I always forget this word. Why do I always forget this word? This is absolutely terrible. Just give me a second. I'm going to read through my notes quickly. This is going to do my night. I'll just give you a heads up as well. Played a lot of padel today. I think about 3.5 hours of sport this morning, and it has taken its toll on my brain and on my life and everything like that. It's literally on the tip of my tongue. There it is. Gradients. Now, for anything to change or move, you need a gradient. It could be a pressure gradient. It could be anything. Now, this and expansion compression, for me, go hand in hand. Things need to get bigger and smaller. They need to cross a gradient. Our body either internally rotates or externally rotates. Economic market cycles either go into a boom or a bust phase. This principle is everywhere. The first organisms, they expanded and compressed. That's all they could do. Expansion and compression is an example of a universal principle because it's true in every case. There isn't things that don't do that. And making decisions based off a set of principles, which are things that are more true than not, they're kind of the things that we believe to be true, is a better way to make decisions. And how do you measure that? Now, I think it's important with anything you do, being rigorous with measuring outcomes, because you can say this happened because of X, Y, Z, or I made this decision and I'm happy, so therefore that was a good decision. But that doesn't stand with rigor. You need a rigorous pursuit and reflection of what happened there to figure out why you got that certain outcome. Was it because of your decisions, or was it because of this unknown area that there is throughout our universe, this grey area? But making decisions based off principles increases the likelihood that we will get the outcomes that we are looking for. It increases the likelihood that the outcomes we are looking for are achieved based on predictable and repeatable decisions. That's really what we're trying to get out of this. So pursue truth, make decisions off principles, challenge everything. Now, this is a part of my personality that some of my friends find very annoying because naturally I challenge everyone. I challenge everything and everyone because pursuing truth, it needs to stand up to the test of challenge. If it's a principle that's universal, a few questions into it, if it starts to be kind of unclear or not true, then there are limitations there. Principles should be able to stand the test of time, stand the test of rigorous investigation and questioning, and there shouldn't be holes. That's how we find these principles, and never really be satisfied with the answer. So I love this idea, and this is the culture I want to build around me. This is how I want friends to be. Sometimes I know it's crazy, you don't want to be like this all the time, but with regards to my performance model, pursuing truth and challenging everything and never being satisfied with the principles is a huge thing. Part of this pursuing truth, is looking at our areas of knowledge, acquisition and understanding as a society and a culture. So you've got this hierarchy of evidence. And what I mean by that is if we look to science, we have this hierarchy of the scientific evidence. Like, for example, expert opinions are not as valuable as systemic reviews. Randomized controlled trials are better than a case study. For example, there is a hierarchy of evidence in science that tells us how reliable the results are. We should apply this with our own performance models. So base your decisions off information you've gathered and rate the quality of that information based on this hierarchy of evidence. Another huge thing and again, this is why this is so beautiful. Like, you have a hierarchy of information. Why this is so beautiful is because it is a principle. Looking at different types of science, physics gives you a much greater, higher quality of information than, say, psychology. And how do we know that? Because physics, it's more rigorous. It's easier to repeat and get the same outcomes. Whereas psychology, there is thousands of studies, and we don't have conclusive, repeatable outcomes in scientific studies. Physics is that base pyramid that we should base a lot of our decisions on, because again, it's more rigorous. It gives us a higher likelihood of being correct, of being closer to the truth. So we should try and base our understanding, our decision making in this world of performance on physics. But also understand that physics has its limitations, just like I spoke earlier about Newtonian physics having its limitations compared to Einstein's physics. Again, physics has its grey areas. When we start looking at the quantum world, like for me, the most ridiculous thing is these tests. I think they fire a proton. They fire a proton through something, and they do the test. They do a test without us watching, and they can measure where the proton goes, and they do the test with a human watching. And just looking at where that proton could be influences the position of the proton. Us just looking, which is crazy. Like, absolutely insane. Like, how is that even a thing? Like, it just shows a fine, massive example of how little we know and how crazy the universe is, and there's so much understanding that we need to get. Henceforth, why we should pursue truth. With regards to performance, why is that important? Because we need to know why we are getting certain outcomes. You can have 100 different paths to a certain outcome, but we want to try and narrow it down to the true reasons why we are getting X, Y, Z outcomes. What is going on there? Why are we getting that outcome? And it's more than anything with the pursue truth. It's finding what is useful. What is useful? What is applicable? How does this improve the quality of service that we can give to our clients and for our own performance outcomes? Whatever you want to talk about, like pursuing truth is about It's about finding what is useful and applicable. And again, that therefore means you should pursue a deep, complex understanding of everything that goes on. But then, to pursue the truth, you have to simplify it down. This last 18 months of my learning in my career have been accelerated massively. I had to understand the complexities before I could try and simplify these things. The expansion compression model just blew my socks off. Well, it's that part of Bill Hartman's model. It just blew my socks off. And really, I've only just started to kind of understand how simple it is and how brilliant that is. It took me so long to kind of get my head around so many areas that once I'm at this stage of learning, and I'm sure there'll be other phases where I'm like, what the hell is going on again? Again, expansion compression. But currently, I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's so simple. A great model is so simple. And moving on. Number 2, pursuing quality. Now, for me, this is just gorgeous. High standards. There has to be challenges in order for systems to adapt, both both learning and physical. I can tell I'm tired just talking, but we're powering through. We're getting it done. Pursuing quality. So for me, what is quality? What is it as a thing? How do we define it? How do we figure out exactly what that is? And a great way to measure quality is, are we getting the desired outcomes? So you have to keep a quantifiable measure of different outcomes for different performance metrics. And based on that, we can see, are these adaptations, is it challenging enough? Is it stimulating enough? Are we getting the desired outcomes? Do we keep moving forward? Pursuing quality. Things have to be challenging. They have to be consistent. And we have to get repeatable results. That is what we're pursuing. So when we get a new challenge that we have to solve for ourselves or for our clients, that opens the door for pursuing a higher standard, for pursuing a higher quality of service, of outcome. Pursuing balance. My final principle in my performance model so far. Pursue balance. Now, for me, this is like, give people what they don't have. if someone is exceptionally compressed in some certain areas, helping them regain a bit of expansion in that area can probably do them absolute wonders. If someone is extremely muscle dominant and they've got some tendon soreness, feeding in exercises, exercise duration, intensities that feed them tendon focused training can help give them what they don't have and help them pursue more of a balance. Again, under this pursue balance principle, stimulus to fatigue ratios, pursue the perfect balance of a stimulus to fatigue over time. That's a spectrum that moves. Again, it's a gradient that moves. Pursue balance with programming. What outcomes are we looking for? Pursue the balance of, are they getting enough speed? Are they getting enough power? Are they getting enough strength? Are they big enough? Do we need to build more tissue? Do they need to lose weight? Etc., etc. Pursue balance with exercise selection. Are we pursuing symmetry? Is their right leg significantly stronger than their left? Is that holding them back in some kind of performance metric? Are they missing some kind of mobility on one side versus the other? Do they have more movement options on one side versus the other? Pursuing symmetry is under this category of pursuing balance. And again, honoring the unknowns. So we do have a good understanding of certain things, but we have to understand that we don't have all the answers and we don't know everything. Bit of a rogue podcast today. We got it in episode 20, JLL coaching podcast. Let me know if you have any questions. Those are the foundational principles that I'm going to be moving forward with. They will definitely change and adapt as I go forward. And I'm trying to fit in my model around those and adapt it as I progress my learning. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. I will see you on the flip side. Have a good one.